700 workers in Poland told on Monday morning that their jobs are gone by April. Not because they failed, not because the cars they build are bad, but because the company that employs them spent 5 years chasing an electric dream that customers never wanted. Cassino in Italy, shut down since mid-December. The plant that builds Alfa Romeo and Maserati has been dark for over a month. No production, no orders, no plans. Workers on solidarity contracts, which is corporate speak for "we are paying you to stay home because we have nothing for you to build." Luton in England, 120 years of history, gone. Over 1,100 jobs eliminated. The factory closed in April 2025. A town that built Vauxhall vans since 1905 now has a car park where an assembly line used to be. And Stellantis, the company responsible for all of this, has the audacity to claim no factory closures in 2026. That is technically true. They did all the closing in 2025, and the jobs they're eliminating now, those do not count as closures. Those are just restructuring. This is the biggest automotive bloodbath in European history, and Stellantis is blaming you for not buying enough electric cars. If you're as angry about this corporate destruction as I am, hit that subscribe button now, because I'm about to show you exactly how Stellantis destroys 7 European factories while their CEO admits their entire strategy was wrong. Let me start with Tychy in Poland, because what happened there tells you everything about how Stellantis operates. On Monday, January 12, 2026, management of FCA Poland called in the unions. 320 workers would be laid off immediately, but that was just the start. Including fixed-term contracts and agency workers, the total reaches 740 employees, almost a third of the entire workforce, gone. The severance package on offer is insulting. Stellantis is offering a maximum of 24 monthly payments, but only for employees with over 30 years of seniority. The union demanded 36 months. Stellantis refused. The gap between what workers deserve and what the company offers tells you everything about priorities. The union's response was brutal. Solidarność president Grzegorz Mazlanska said, "We feel cheated." They have now filed a class action lawsuit against Stellantis. The union wrote directly to shareholders, not to management, to the actual owners, Exor, the Agnelli family holding company, Peugeot Frères, BPI France, representing the French government, even BlackRock. Their message was simple. What is the plan for Tychy's future? The answer, apparently, is to eliminate the third production shift starting in March. This from a plant that works with 58 subcontractors. The regional impact could mean thousands more jobs across the Silesian industrial region. We are not talking about one factory. We are talking about an entire ecosystem of suppliers, transport companies, restaurants, shops, all dependent on a plant that is being systematically dismantled. And here is what makes this truly absurd. Tychy does not build luxury cars that nobody wants. It builds the Alfa Romeo Jr., the Fiat 600, and the Jeep Avenger. These are supposed to be volume models, affordable compact SUVs designed to generate sales, the backbone of Stellantis' European strategy. So why are workers being fired from a plant building mainstream cars? Because Stellantis launched every single one of these vehicles as electric first. The Avenger was marketed as an electric crossover, with the petrol manual hidden away in configurators or restricted to specific markets. The Fiat 600 was pushed as an EV. The Alfa Romeo Jr. was positioned as Alfa's electric future. Customers said, no thank you. They wanted the petrol engines that Stellantis barely advertised. They wanted manual gearboxes that dealers struggled to order. They wanted affordable cars that cost less than £30,000. Stellantis offered electric crossovers starting at £35,000 and wondered why sales disappointed. And now Polish workers are paying the price for a strategy they had no part in creating. If Tychy is bad, Italy is a complete disaster. Italian production fell 20% in 2025, below 380,000 vehicles. You have to go back to 1955 to find numbers this low. 70 years of industrial decline packed into 2 years. Italy, the country that gave the world Ferrari and Lamborghini and Alfa Romeo, now produces fewer cars than it did when Eisenhower was president. Let me walk you through the carnage plant by plant. Cassino, shut down since mid-December 2025, originally supposed to restart January 2nd, then pushed to January 16th, now January 27th, maybe. Union leader Enrico Copotelli says the situation is beyond the red alert threshold. The plant produced fewer than 18,000 vehicles in 2025. Projections for 2026 are even worse, maybe 13,000 units. For context, this factory was designed to build 300,000 cars per year. It is running at roughly 4% capacity. The problem is simple. Cassino builds the Alfa Romeo Giulia and Stelvio, both from 2016 and 2017 respectively, ancient by automotive standards, plus the Maserati Grecale, which is not selling. The next generation Giulia and Stelvio were designed as electric only on the STLA large platform. No hybrid option, no petrol backup. When customers rejected electric Alfas, Stellantis had no plan B. Now they're scrambling to add hybrid powertrains, pushing new model launches to 2027 or even 2028. For 2 years, Cassino has nothing new to build. Workers sit at home on solidarity contracts while management figures out what went wrong. Melfi. Production collapsed 47%, down to 32,000 units from a plant that once built over 250,000 per year. The Jeep Renegade is dead. The Fiat 500X is dead. The new Jeep Compass is slowly ramping up alongside the DS8, but volume remains catastrophic compared to historical output. Pomigliano, down 22%. The Fiat Panda, once Italy's most produced car, lost 14% of its volume. The Alfa Romeo Tonale dropped 32%. The Dodge Hornet has been virtually suspended after American tariffs killed exports to the US. Mirafiore in Turin, the only plant to show growth, 16% up. Sounds good until you realize that means 30,000 cars from a plant with 200,000 capacity. The electric Fiat 500 was a disaster. Production stopped for months at a time throughout 2024 and 2025. Stellantis launched the hybrid version in late 2025 as a rescue mission. Too little, too late to save the jobs already lost. The Termoli engine plant, 1,800 workers waiting to hear their fate. The promised gigafactory for battery production has been shelved indefinitely. The ACC joint venture that was supposed to transform Termoli into a battery production hub is stalled. Solidarity contracts extending month after month with no end in sight. Almost half of Stellantis workers in Italy are now on some form of reduced work scheme. Short-time working, solidarity contracts, forced holidays. The Italian automotive industry has not seen anything like this since World War II. Now let me tell you about Luton. 120 years. That is how long Vauxhall vans have been built in Luton. Since 1905. Through 2 world wars, through recessions and depressions, through ownership changes from GM to PSA to Stellantis. The final Vauxhall Vivaro rolled off the line on March 28, 2025. Then silence. In April 2025, the lines went silent forever. Over 1,100 workers lost their jobs. The economic impact on the town reaches £310 million annually, according to Luton Council. This was not just a factory, it was the foundation of a community. Stellantis blamed the UK's zero-emission vehicle mandate. They said regulations were hurting their business model. They complained about lack of consumer incentives. They pointed fingers at everyone except themselves. Here is what they did not mention. In February 2024, just 1 year before closing the plant, Stellantis announced that Luton would begin electric van production in 2025. They invested in preparing the factory. They promised jobs that would be secure. Mark Noble, the Luton plant director, called it a fitting way to mark Luton's 120th anniversary. Then they changed their minds. Production consolidated to Ellesmere Port near Liverpool. Stellantis claims hundreds of jobs will transfer. The reality is that most Luton workers cannot relocate 170 miles north. They have families, mortgages, children in school, lives built around a factory that just disappeared. Luton Council called it heartbreaking and a devastating blow. Unite Union called it a total disgrace and a betrayal. Sharon Graham, Unite's General Secretary, said workers had delivered every target asked of them. She said shutting a profitable factory that had just been made ready for electric production made no sense. Did not matter. The factory is now being demolished. The site is being redeveloped as an industrial park that promises 1,700 jobs someday. Cold comfort for the 1,100 who lost their jobs today. And remember, Stellantis promised Italian factories would stay open. They promised no mass redundancies. They promised commitment to European manufacturing. Luton shows exactly what those promises are worth. France is next. Stellantis has 5 assembly plants in France: Poissy, Sochaux, Mulhouse, Rennes, and Hordin. Combined, they are expected to fall below 600,000 units within 3 years. Poissy is the immediate concern. The plant builds the DS3 and Opel Mokka. In October 2025, Stellantis shut it down for 3 weeks. 2,000 workers on partial unemployment. Rumors swirled about permanent closure. Workers protested in Paris. Management says nothing. Sochaux suspended operations in October 2025 for nearly 10 days. 7,500 vehicles lost. The pattern is identical to Italy. Production pauses, reduced shifts, solidarity schemes, death by 1,000 cuts rather than a single clean closure. Meanwhile, the Vigo plant in Spain produced 600,000 vehicles in 2025, almost as many as all 5 French plants combined, twice as much as the entirety of Italy. Why Spain? Lower energy costs, more flexible labor regulations, better incentives. The same cars that cannot be profitably built in France or Italy can be built in Vigo at a rate of 1 per minute. This is not globalization in the traditional sense. This is European factories competing against European factories within the same company. And the workers losing are the ones whose governments failed to offer enough subsidiaries. Then there's Eisenach in Germany. The Opel plant building the Grandland. Production pauses in September and October 2025. Shorter than France or Italy, but the trend is clear. Germany has largely avoided the worst of Stellantis' cuts, but not because of any commitment to German workers, simply because German labor laws make mass layoffs extraordinarily expensive and legally complex. The question is how long Stellantis will tolerate paying German wages for reduced production. Former CEO Carlos Tavares warned before his departure that European plants will either close or be bought by Chinese companies. He predicted demonstrations and tire fires. That was not a threat, it was a forecast. This brings us to Antonio Filosa, the new CEO of Stellantis. In December 2025, Filosa said something extraordinary at a Goldman Sachs conference. Some assumptions were wrong, but we listened to the market. Let me translate that corporate speak for you. We bet the entire company on electric vehicles. We designed platforms that only worked for EVs. We launched cars that customers did not want. We planned for 50% EV penetration in America by 2030. The actual number today is below 6%. Europe was supposed to be 100% electric by 2035. That timeline is now officially too optimistic according to Stellantis' own CEO. The admission is stunning. The largest automotive merger in history, 14 brands, hundreds of thousands of employees, and management got the fundamental question wrong. They misjudged what customers would actually buy. Filosa's solution? Pivot to hybrids, bring back the V8 engines in America. The Hemi returned to Ram trucks and got 50,000 orders in 6 weeks. The market spoke. Stellantis finally listened. But that pivot takes time. Redesigning the STLA large platform to accept hybrid powertrains, engineering combustion options for cars designed as electric only. Every month of redesign is another month of empty factories. Stellantis Europe chief Emmanuel Capellano said in January 2026 that there would be no European factory closures this year. For 2026, the answer is no. But when asked about 5 years from now, he said the answer would be open. And here is the trick. A factory is not closed if it runs one shift instead of 3. A factory is not closed if half of its workforce is on solidarity contracts. A factory is not closed if it produces 10% of capacity. By Stellantis' definition, Cassino is not closed. It is merely temporarily idled, for months at a time, with no products to build. Tychy is not closing, and it's just eliminating 700 jobs. The factory still exists, the buildings remain standing, the promise is technically kept, and the workers are still unemployed. Stellantis wants you to believe this is your fault. You did not buy enough electric cars. You did not embrace the future. You chose hybrids and petrols when you were supposed to choose batteries. That is garbage. Customers bought what made sense for their lives. They looked at EV prices and saw cars costing 40% more than equivalent petrol models. They looked at charging infrastructure and saw inconsistent networks. They looked at range anxiety and cold weather performance and made rational decisions. The companies that listen to customers are thriving. Toyota sold more hybrids than anyone predicted. Their factories are running full production. Their workers have secure jobs. The companies that dictated to customers are collapsing. Stellantis assumed they could force a transition. They could not. European Union regulations share blame. The aggressive push towards 2035 ICE bans created regulatory dogma that manufacturers felt compelled to follow. When reality diverged from policy, the factories paid the price. But mostly, this is a failure of Stellantis leadership. Under Carlos Tavares, the company prioritized cost-cutting over product investment. Margins expanded while quality eroded. The PureTech engine scandal, the Takata airbag issues, customer trust destroyed while executives collected bonuses. The workers building cars in Tychy and Cassino and Luton did not make these decisions. They showed up every day. They met their targets. They delivered what was asked. And they lost their jobs anyway. Where does this end? Stellantis has promised a new strategic plan by mid-2026. Capital Markets Day, where they will reveal the future direction. Between May and June, we will supposedly learn whether these factories have any chance of survival. Until then, solidarity contracts continue, production pauses extend, workers wait. The Italian government has demanded concrete investment plans. The unions have threatened legal action. Regional governments are scrambling to fund support programs and job training. None of it changes the fundamental problem. Stellantis built cars that customers rejected. Their factories are running empty because showrooms are running empty. The pivot to hybrids will take years. The new Alfa Romeo Stelvia and Giulia will not arrive until 27 or 28. The Cassino plant may survive on special edition models and hope, or it may not survive at all. Former CEO Tavares predicted the European factories would close or be sold to Chinese companies. Current management promises no closures in 2026, but promises from Stellantis mean nothing. Ask the workers in Luton. This is what happens when corporations ignore their customers, when management believes it knows better than the market, when regulatory compliance replaces commercial reality, when cost-cutting substitutes for innovation, when workers become statistics rather than people. 7 factories, thousands of jobs, generations of industrial heritage. Stellantis is destroying European manufacturing while claiming to save it. They promise no closures while eliminating shifts. They admit their strategy was wrong while workers pay the price. The bloodbath continues. Poland, Italy, England, France, Germany. Every week brings new production pauses, new solidarity extensions, new uncertainty for families who did nothing wrong except show up to work for a company that treated them as expendable. The contrast with competitors is damning. Toyota runs its European factories at full capacity because customers want hybrids. BMW maintains production because it offered choice rather than mandates. Even Volkswagen, facing its own crisis, invested in new products rather than abandoning workers. Stellantis chose a different path. They chose electric only when customers wanted options. They chose cost-cutting when products needed investment. They chose shareholder returns over worker welfare. And somewhere in a boardroom, executives are planning the next restructuring while assuring shareholders that everything is under control. It is not. If your job depends on Stellantis, start planning now. Update your CV, talk to recruiters. Do not trust promises from a company that has broken every promise it made. If your town depends on a Stellantis factory, prepare for the worst. Lobby your government for support. Build alternative economic foundations. Do not wait for a corporation that views your community as a line item on a spreadsheet. If you were considering buying a Stellantis product, ask yourself whether you want to support a company that treats its workforce this way. Every Peugeot, every Fiat, every Vauxhall you buy funds an organization that views European workers as an inconvenience to be eliminated. The assumptions were wrong. Stellantis admits it, and 7 European factories are paying the price for corporate arrogance. What do you think should happen to Stellantis? Should governments intervene to save these jobs? Should workers strike? Should customers boycott? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this crisis affects all of us who care about European manufacturing and the future of our automotive industry.